Donald Trump is tonight facing accusations of witness tampering after targeting a former diplomat while she was testifying in the impeachment hearings. The president said he wouldn't be watching, but with one tweet made sure the proceedings were must-see TV.
Former US Ambassador to Ukraine Marie Yovanovitch takes the stand amid claims she was sacked from her position because she was blocking White House attempts to have Ukraine investigate Donald Trump's opponent, Joe Biden, and his family.
All we have is our reputation, and so this has been a very painful period.
Their accusations Trump denies, and in the middle of Yovanovitch's evidence tweeted, "Everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. She started off in Somalia. How did that go? Then fast forward to Ukraine. It is the US president's absolute right to appoint ambassadors."
Well, it is a strong term, but police in Hong Kong have described the death of a 70-year-old man struck during clashes on Wednesday as murder. He was said to have been hit by a hard object when he was caught up in violence between government supporters and anti-government protesters. Well, in a news conference a couple of hours ago now, police also showed footage here, you can see it, of what they called rioting in the streets. The police spokesman, Se Chun Ching, then went on to accuse protesters of taking the city hostage. Well, the troubles, the difficulties have spilled over to a certain extent here in London as well, as police are investigating an allegation of assault near the Chinese embassy. We've got some pictures for you of the incident. I should just tell you there are flashing images in this, but just to show you, you can see the Hong Kong Justice Secretary surrounded by pro-democracy protesters, also by photographers. Then she falls to the ground. Well, the Hong Kong government has condemned the actions by what it called a violent mob on Theresa Cheng. She was here on an official visit.
The United States reportedly thinks the window of opportunity to resolve the North Korean nuclear issue is narrowing. A U.S. official who was speaking off the record also commented on South Korea's decision to scrap its military intel sharing pact with Japan and on Seoul's defense cost sharing issue with Washington.
A senior official from the U.S. State Department told reporters in a backroom briefing Friday that he conveyed a message to Chinese officials that Beijing could do more to pressure North Korea into restarting denuclearization talks. China was also urged to prevent slippage in the enforcement of international sanctions on the regime, particularly when it comes to ship-to-ship transfers of coal and oil in their territorial waters.
President Trump has made decisions about clemency for 3 U.S. service members. They are an executive grant of clemency, a full pardon for former First Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, who was convicted of second-degree murder for ordering his soldiers to open fire and kill 3 men in Afghanistan. Former Army Major Matthew Goldstein, who accused of murdering a Taliban bomb maker, and Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher, was reinstated to his previous rank before his trial when he was acquitted of wounding ISIS detainee, but found guilty of a lesser charge, taking a photograph with a separate dead ISIS fighter.
In rural Queensland, police say it's not uncommon to see this. Guns left out in the open, ready for the taking.
and they leave the firearms just lying around the property, inside the house, on the front seats of their working vehicles across the property, handguns on top of consoles or in glove boxes.
Gun theft from rural properties is increasing.
I don't want to be alarmist about this, but we're well aware that criminals are targeting rural communities.
Police are auditing properties, checking guns are properly stored and registered. Annually, about 700 firearms are reported stolen in Queensland, and less than a quarter are recovered.
It looks more like a war zone than a street protest. Bolivia's political unrest turned deadly on Friday as supporters of former President Evo Morales clashed with police in the town of Sacaba. As the dead were buried, emotions were raw and anger directed at Bolivia's self-appointed president, Janina Áñez. Morales' supporters have been taking to the streets since he resigned and fled the country to Mexico earlier this week, claiming a coup had taken place. These protests against the 4-day-old government led by Conservative Áñez are a stark indication of the political upheaval taking place. Áñez has dismissed Morales' allegations of a coup.
St Sebastian's in the Gombo has been restored as a place of worship after last April's suicide bomb attack. 114 people were murdered here on Easter Sunday. The bomber was one of 8 who targeted churches and hotels across the country, killing 263 people. A damning parliamentary report says intelligence agencies and senior politicians were briefed that attacks were coming, but failed to act. After the bombing, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, backed by his brother Mahinda, announced his candidacy for the presidency, promising to restore security. But that makes Muslims like Rhinos Mohedin nervous. One of his textile shops once stood here. It was one of hundreds set on fire by Buddhist nationalists days after the Easter attacks.
Shifting focus to the national capital now, there's been just about a little bit of respite for Delhiites today. Not too much, as I would say, because the air quality level has improved but continues to remain in the severe category very much. The overall air quality level stands at 402, which is just slightly better than the air quality recorded yesterday, which was at 458. This is still about 4 times above the satisfactory levels. The pollution levels in Rohini and Mundka are above 400 mark. Pollution levels in National Capital Region have shown slight bit of improvement. In Noida, it stands at 383. Ghaziabad stands at 392. Wind speed is predicted to pick up today, which is likely to decrease the pollution levels in the capital. A decision on the extending the odd-even scheme in Delhi will also be taken on Monday.